Delicious in Dungeon is one of the most delightful things you'll ever watch.
Okay. I
It's
heard you
on,
talk about it on one of your podcasts,
yeah,
just briefly.
it's on Netflix, 25 episodes. Um, but it's a cross between Dungeons and Dragons and a cooking show.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And the dwarf is the chef.
Gotcha. All
So,
right. The Great Dwarfish Bake Off.
that's even better.
Better put the word out. Get ready for the nerd out. Better put specs on. Better bring next song. I cut handsome checks for my expansion sets. They call me Obi-Wan. Act like you know me, son.
Greetings, true believers, and welcome to episode 104 of the Pull List Podcast, a bi-weekly show about comics, pop culture, and faith. I am Todd Turner, a.k.a. Mosaic Fan Art, filling in for RoboCop Chris Poirier. And also on this journey is the one, the only, the stalwart and faithful Hector.
Hi, y'all.
That's right, guys. We are going to talk about some comics, some news, probably some stuff that doesn't even matter. Who
So,
knows?
Make
So
sure
there
your
you go.
hands are clean because you're about to get pulled.
I still cringe when I hear that. I don't know why, but I think I should. Oh, man. Listen, I've got some news. I don't know if this is considered Chris Poirier worthy news, but I thought I would start off right off the bat for this one for you, Hector. We're getting a question miniseries called The Question All Along the Watchtower.
Shut your mouth.
No, dead serious. And all I can hear is Jimi Hendrix every time I read it.
Well, see, I hear Bob Dylan first because it's his song.
Yeah, I get it. Yes, it is. But I was a Hendrix fan before I was a Dylan fan. But it does star Renee Montoya. So it is her. And it's there has been a series of murders somehow associated with the JL Watchtower. So the big three, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, get the question to investigate. So I'm assuming this is going to be Black Label or Elseworlds or something like that. But I just thought it was pretty cool, basically because I just started the new Batman show.
Okay, I was literally about to ask you about that. So okay.
And I just am in the middle of the episode where they introduce the detective Renee Montoya. I thought, which BT Dubs, it's not really a kids show, but it is a really good show. Yeah. So what do you think about that? The question.
I'm excited because she's just been functioning as the commissioner for like a minute, and it'll be nice to actually have her back as the question. So
yeah, I like her better, I think, as the question and the commissioner. Nothing against her for being the commissioner, but
well, I think they were trying to trim some of the old dead weight of Alfred and Gordon being the only two old people.
gotcha.
And to be the grown-ups.
I got you. I don't know if you've heard about this, but back in 1977, DC and Marvel did the best crossover of all time.
Yes.
And went to battle in the courts to trademark the term superhero. I didn't even know this was a thing. So DC and Marvel co-own a trademark to the term superhero. So, and that it won in 79, 80. And ever since then, no one can use the term superhero, period, without getting approval from Marvel or DC. And I mean, there's a list like a mile long of people who have tried to use it and have taken them to court and they've never lost. Well, somehow they forgot to file some paperwork. And now the doorway has been opened for them to lose that trademark. A British comic book creator named Scott Richold has a book called Super Babies Unlimited or something like that. And he has filed a default judgment against them in the courts. The best thing about it is in his filing, in his documents, which he filed, he uses panels from comics to support his support his voice. One of them is, of course, I'm a huge Fantastic Four fans. The newest run that I think Ryan North has done. He did an issue where they start losing the ability to speak because they lose certain letters. The letters start disappearing. I don't know if you remember that
Yeah.
issue. And there's one panel in it when it says they're taking away our words. They're not being, how can we communicate what we want to say? All this kind of stuff. He uses that. He uses some DC. There's like an old Justice League where where the Justice League is picketing saying give superheroes their rights and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's like crazy the amount of books that he lists Invincibles. So anyway, I didn't even know that they trademarked that. I mean, you can't even have superhero cereal without getting Marvel and DC to say it's okay.
Well, there's recently there was a battle between Taco Bell and Taco John.
I didn't even know there was a Taco John.
Yes. Um there there's a battle between those two over the phrase Taco Tuesday.
Dude, we use Taco Tuesday all the time. My wife runs a nonprofit counseling center, and every Tuesday during the summer, a different member of her staff brings their own version of Taco Tuesday. So, I mean, we're all getting sued for Taco Tuesday. I hate that. They're not going to get rid of like quarter hot dog nights at the baseball park, are they?
Man, maybe
That's
Cracker Jack.
Cracker Jacks.
Buy me some peanuts and unspecified popcorn snack.
Caramelized popcorn with a sticker in it instead of a real cool prize.
Oh, you want to know what's really sad now?
What?
Have you eaten Cracker Jack lately?
Not lately. I mean, it ain't been too long. Why?
Guess what the prize in Cracker Jack is now?
I don't know. Is it just like a tattoo?
It's a QR code for an app.
Okay. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But
I got a Cracker Jack this week, and it was a QR code for a free video game download in an app store.
Wow, that's terrible. The good thing about that is it's a great segue for one of our pieces of news that I've got. So, in the Discord for the LTN Discord or in the comics channel, Viridian Tooth, Josh, I don't know how to pronounce. Yeah. So he asked a question about what we thought about the QR codes in the back of the books. I didn't know if a lot of people knew this or not, but Marvel has put QR codes in the back, if I'm not mistaken, only the From the Ashes books that are associated with the X-Men. After you read the story, I think so. After you read the story, there's a QR code that takes up an entire page, and you get one more page of story, like a post-credit scene, basically. The word on the street is that they have tried that this is I don't know whether this is true or not. Take it for the grain of salt. Is that now that Marvel has switched to Penguin Random House instead of Diamond, all their books are being delivered on time or a week early. And a lot of their books apparently are like some people are selling them as soon as they get them instead of holding them the week they're supposed to. So the word was that in order to keep people from selling the books early and spoiling and ruining, that this QR code basically allows them, if someone scans it before a certain date, then they get the IP address. I don't know how this works. I'm not a computer guy, but they can tell, unless you're using a VPN, they can tell what area or whatever this has been scanned from. And that way they can try to keep people from selling their books early. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I want to know what your feeling is about having a digital page and not a physical page.
I am not opposed to the digital page as an extra. If it, especially if it's like additional artwork or something, if it's part of the story, that's a beef for me. Now I stopped paying attention to the QR codes, but because I don't know if you remember a while back, Marvel was doing a thing where you got a digital version of a book every time you
Right.
bought a physical version.
Yeah, but you had to rip off that little sticker.
Right.
Right. Which I refuse to do. Yeah. But these QR codes are literally, so the thing is it's not the them all sitting down eating shawarma. It's, oh my gosh, it's Thanos. That's what these QR codes are doing. So it's not like a throwaway. It is something that is pivotal to what's coming up in the story.
I shouldn't
Uh,
need additional hardware to read the story I paid $5 for.
well, yeah, and my issue is like, will there be an expiration date? Will these QR codes, like, sometimes down in the future, these QR codes won't work, or we won't even use QR codes? I was wondering, will the page appear in the next issue? But I don't believe it does. I have a cousin who owns a comic book shop, and he said that they did not do it in the second issues. I haven't read. I have X-Men 2. I haven't read it yet. I haven't even looked in the back. So I don't know. But so are you again it? Are you a for it?
I am not for actual story content. If it's just random like additional kicks and giggles, sure. Um, it can even be a B-side story. But if it's actual main content story, no, I'm not a favor of that.
Um, so one of my books that I have in the pools, and one of the books you have in the pools had that QR code. Did you scan it?
No.
Okay, I did scan mine, and it is important to the story. It's not make or break, but it adds a little bit extra oomph to it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I feel like, what is it? Is the book okay without it? Yes. But if you're going to put it there, just put it in the book. You've already wasted a whole entire page with a daggone QR code. Anyway, there's my old man talking. My last piece of news is sort of an artist issue, and Joe Jusko, I don't know if I pronounce his last name right, but his art's amazing. Has put on his Facebook and a statement saying that he's contacted CGC, and he's telling all these people out here that I am not going to sign. Don't bring these Marvel Masterpiece XL trading cards to me to sign, because I'm not signing them because I've not been compensated for it. And that really struck me odd. Not that he wouldn't sign them. I'm totally for that. I agree with that. But the fact that the guy hasn't got paid for these.
Well, here's the thing. Did he draw the original ones?
Yeah, he drew a bunch of the original ones. Not all of them, but he drew a bunch. And he
Okay.
has since he's done, variant covers for Marvel. I don't know if he's doing any books recently.
But if the XL cards are just larger reprints of the original cards, then he's already been paid for it.
Ah, I can see that argument. I could see that
Because if
argument.
you've already been paid for a movie and they release a special edition DVD and that's not part of your contract.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We would have to go and do a little bit more investigative digging to see if he created new art for the XL cards.
Because if
I
it's
don't know
just
the answer to that. If it's
if
new
it's
art,
if it's new art, yes, pay the man. If he there because realistically, how many times is Dave Gibbons going to get paid for Watchmen?
well, I know Alan Moore doesn't care anymore, but I don't
Right.
know about Dave Gibbons.
That's the thing. Like, there's
Yeah.
always new copies of Watchmen
Right.
being printed. Is this dude getting a check every time?
Yeah. No, you're right. Oh, well. Here we go. It's tough being an artist.
It is.
Well, that's all the news I have, Hector. Do you have anything else?
No. I heard a thing today that there's a beef between Brie Larson and Ryan, or Brie Larson has beef with Ryan Reynolds,
Oh, okay.
over Deadpool and Wolverine.
Which, by the way, I still haven't seen.
I don't know that you should, Todd.
I got you. Okay.
Um, So, did you watch the first two?
I have seen the first two, so I mean, it won't surprise me, or
Yeah, I
maybe it
mean,
will. If it does, then I'm like, oh,
this is some notches up on the other ones. Um, but did like just as a total rabbit trail, did you ever see the basically Deadpool 2.5, but it was called Once Upon a Deadpool
oh yes. I didn't see the whole thing. Oh yeah, yeah, the one with Fred Savage.
with Fred Savage?
Fantastic, so well done.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
but
was funny.
making it a PG-13 movie and bringing Fred Savage in, that was
That's
great.
hilarious. That was funny.
Um, I feel like you need a one of
I
those
gotcha. One of those. Okay,
for
thank you. I
because if I'm not
appreciate
like
that.
the count was 116 F bombs
Oh wow. Okay,
and
man.
the violence is gory. Like the
Yeah.
claws show no mercy.
Okay.
Um,
I got you. Well, I mean, who knows? I still will watch it. I don't know
yeah,
when,
yeah.
but it's not a movie that, since my anniversary was the same weekend the movie came out, I didn't think that was a great thing to take my wife to, if you know what I mean.
No, I feel that, and I wouldn't
Instead we
take
went
my
and saw Elevation Music, a concert, Elevation Worship.
nice.
That was cool.
I haven't. My kids wanted to watch it, and I was like, "This is a little much for you guys." My older two, anyway.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't let them watch it because they wouldn't get the cameos.
Yeah, exactly. I got you.
I was like, "You're missing an entire movie universe here. I'm not going to let you watch this."
Well, I did
Um,
watch Step Up last night, so I got my Channing Tatum already. So,
um, but what I was going to tell you is Brie Larson has beef because apparently, this is based on the report that I listened to today, that Brie Larson filmed scenes, three separate scenes for this movie, and none of them made the cut.
oh, well, I mean, I get that.
And one of them also included She-Hulk, which I remember She-Hulk doing stuff for the movie and then it getting cut like way back in production.
Well, I heard
But
Robert Downey Jr. was supposed to be in it too, and they cut it as soon as they decided on the Doom thing.
right, but like they actually filmed this stuff,
Oh, okay.
and so with that they were in that process, and they're already talking about they trimmed over 35 minutes off the movie, even though it's already long.
Are we going to get the Snyder cut Deadpool Wolverine version?
We are looking at getting a more extended cut of it, but
Sean
there's
Levy, right?
yeah, Sean Levy,
Mhm.
but they're still talking about leaving out Brie Larson scenes.
Oh, snap. That's rough.
So they're going to put in all the
Oh,
extra
come on.
content, but her.
If they can put the extra content in for the Rebel Moon director's cut, we can get Brie Larson in a Deadpool cut.
So, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I also don't know how valid that is. That could just be Hollywood chit chat. But
Gotcha. All right. All right. Well, that's all the news I have. And Hector, well, let's get into I'm not going to say it, but you can say it about getting pulled or something.
I already said it.
All right. There you
I already
go.
said that was pre news.
Free news.
So we're gonna look at our comics and the pools that we have for the week. So Todd, why don't you go ahead and start off and give me your first one?
Well, I just got them on the way they're lined up on my stack here. I've got Gotham Sirens, issues 1 and 2, because this is a book that's coming out weekly for 4 weeks. If you need a break from absolute power, this is great. Gotham Sirens is a Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and they have to get Catwoman to help them to figure out what's going on with these like robot avatars that are showing up of people playing like a game, like a video game. So it's a lot like that. Was that Bruce Willis movie where people had other people and then they dressed
Surrogate.
something very similar to that. But what's happening is these guys are playing these video games using out in the real life using like robots, and something is happening that there's this drink that they're drinking that's drugging all these guys. It's like called Exo Punch. It's very cool. Yeah, it's sort of like don't drink the Red Bull or whatever. And you come to find out at the end of the first issue that the villain is our favorite Aubrey Plaza lookalike, Punchline. Um, but she's actually I'm liking her villain in this. I have thought that Punchline character has been pretty lame, honestly. Um,
So
but
far.
but I'm impressed with this. So this is definitely an all female cast. The covers are by the Dodsons, which is beautiful, and it's a fun read. So I'm giving it definitely a go out there and get it. But it's only 4 issues, and first two are out. So when this drops, you could probably still go get them. Um, I don't think they're selling like hotcakes, but it takes place in Gotham, and it's a story with all of them, and the way the characters go between each other is great. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I have a surprising turn of events before we even go any further with it.
Oh,
I
what?
have no DC books.
Well, listen, I did 2 Marvel, 2 DC, and 1 independent because I didn't want Chris to feel bad about not having an independent in there. But I have an honorable mention. I'm just going to mention it honorably.
Okay.
All right.
But
Well,
I
what's your first one then? Are they all Marvel?
3 out of 5.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, so
That
3 out of 5 are Marvel.
ain't
Uh
bad.
so first up we're gonna do Daredevil number 12.
Okay.
Um and Daredevil number 12 was straight up just a solid chapter to where they've been with this recent story of the demons possessing Matt's associates and things like that. And with it coming, you get to actually see a little bit more of how it's fully played out, the wear and tear it's doing on Matt's soul and everything else. And a lot of this battle is a fully engulfed demonic kingpin, which is a scary thought all on its own.
No kidding.
And like every other demon centric part of this story, uh you're getting it's being combated by scripture. And again, I'm not super unhappy with how it was handled in this one. A lot of times the scripture is way out of context.
When they
And
started this book, it was bad.
yes, when they started this book, they literally looked like they flipped the Bible open and
It
just
just went, yeah, we'll use that. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Now it's a little closer to it could be applicable, but I'm going to tell you this. I've in 20 plus years of ministry, I've not performed an exorcism. Surprise. Um, but I'm gonna tell you this. If you use this book as your guide to performing an exorcism, uh, I feel like you're gonna be in some Mortal Kombat level because this demon's gonna be like, your soul is mine. Um, your soul is mine. Like that whole thing. It's
Yeah, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
yes. Um, but I would not use this book as a guide for exorcisms, but it is solid. Um, and it was a good solid entry. I've got a handful of screenshots, some I'll probably make out of a meme or whatever, but it plays out pretty well. And they added a nice little element of danger to something is chasing the children at the orphanage. So
Yes.
uh whenever you have kids in danger from supernatural entities,
I'm not a
it
fan.
yeah, it's for some people that's more entertaining. For some people it's like, nope, I don't want it.
Yeah.
um there are members of my family that can't rock with a kid getting
Oh,
hurt.
yeah.
And
Yeah. I don't either.
so like there was one that, I read the book of Doctor Sleep, which is the Stephen King's sequel to The Shining,
Oh, well.
which features a grown-up Danny Torrance,
Oh,
um,
wow.
who has his full Shining gifts, and his whole deal is he uses his Shining ability as an orderly at a hospice house
Well,
to help people pass peacefully.
I got you. Yeah. Not that's called jail time.
Yeah.
So
But then the whole plot line of the book is that there are these monstrous people that uh on a vampiric level hunt down children with the shining gift
mm,
and feed off their soul.
gotcha. Okay.
And so you see some really brutal child stuff in there. And it's just like, Like I got heebie-jeebie flashbacks just watching the door break down at the orphanage in there. But Daredevil
Yeah.
12 is solid. I really thought this was going to be the end of a story, but it's like it doesn't
But
look like we're
I think this is like number 5. I mean, he's got 2 left to go, I think. The
yeah.
interesting thing about these books is that in order for him to defeat these demons, they're his demons. So he has to address his own sloth, greed, um, all of
Envy.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've really liked. I enjoyed this issue, and I'm glad you picked it because if you didn't, it was in my stack. I'm so
Well, you
glad.
messaged me about it before I ever read it. So
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, I'll go into my next DC book. It is Action Comics issue 1068. So this has 2 stories in it. Action Comics is doing this thing called Superman Superstars, where they give some artist and writer like a 3 issue arc, and that's what it is. So it's like a miniseries, Superman miniseries, and this is issue 2 um, of Gail Simone's book. Which, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Gail Simone's going to be writing James Bond for Dynamite, I believe.
is
Anywho.
Gail Simone writing Action Comics?
Yeah, this is her second. This is her second issue. But she's only going to do it for 3 issues, and then somebody else comes in. That's what I'm saying. This is what they're doing.
I'm gonna have
So,
to look that up.
well, it's a fun, wholesome book. I say wholesome. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like it has an 80s feel, like because she actually says in the book that it's dedicated to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. So she's going for that type of a vibe. It's sort of set in the Superman's got the black symbol with the red S, so it's set in the past, and it's him as like Earth's champion having to compete and battle these 3 trials in order to save the planet. It's really good. That's not the reason I chose the book. I chose the book for the backup story. The backup story is amazing, and it's by Rainbow Royale.
I've read something of hers today. Oh,
Yeah, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk,
She-Hulk
yeah.
yeah. And this is such an amazing story. This is so the 2 stories, one set in the past, this one's set in modern time. Now it's set in today. And Lois has now taken over editorial head of the planet. And she's basically told her husband that he can't, it's a conflict of interest for him to report on Superman. And it is, you get to see them have it's an argument. It's how they deal with this at home and at work. And it's not mean, it's sort of healthy, but you see like Lois go to bed and turn one way, and then Superman goes to bed and turns the other way. And like they're eating breakfast and John's at the table and he goes, "Is everything okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're fine." And then they head off to work, but you can tell that they're struggling because of what's going down at work, where she basically gave his job to an intern. And I think we'll get the final. So this is like issue 2 of that story, and I believe we'll get the final one next month. But it is so good. It's neat to see that dynamic played out. I believe that they're having discussions about it. Why are we doing this? This is what has to happen. I'm not your wife here. I'm your boss here. And and it's an interesting how they play it out. I'm interested to see how she finishes her little run on this. So I like her she does women well. She does strong women well.
Oh,
She writes
absolutely.
them
Always. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
she does that, but I'm gonna tell you this, like reading her on Secret Six, her doing Bane and Deadshot.
Oh no, wait. Are you Rainbow? I'm talking about Rainbow Royale.
Yeah, you're right. She does Rainbow Royale. Yeah, she does do strong women well. She's done
Yeah.
She-Hulk really well through this whole series. Never
Yeah.
mind. Sorry.
You're thinking Gail
I
Simone?
still went back to Gail Simone. Yeah.
Well, there's Lois has a big part. Lois and Jimmy. It's basically Lois, Jimmy, and Superman. and they all have big parts in the book that Gail's doing. It's really good. It's a fun book.
Nice.
It's something I would let my child read. You
Okay.
know, yeah. All right. What else you
Uh,
got, brother?
Ain't No Grave number 4. Um, and I specifically am picking this one because they did this book without words.
I know it. I felt so much like the silent issue of GI Joe.
The only words you hear are the at the end of the book are she meets a antagonist and the antagonist says hello Ryder. Um, but the issue is called depression, and it's you can there's musical there's sound being played through the issue that's leading her on a depressive path through a dark place. If you read the Me You Love in the Dark, it's also very similar to one of the stories that's within that as well. Another Scotty Young story. So this is Scotty Young telling a story about depression with nothing but visuals, and he nails it.
The
So
art is amazing in it.
it is, and there's only one more issue to go, I believe, of this
I
book.
think so.
And give Scotty Young 5 issues, he'll tell you a good story.
No
So
kidding.
that's where I'm at with that. So what about you?
I'm going to jump into my first Marvel book, which is X Factor issue 1.
Okay.
Um, so we've mentioned this. I probably mentioned this the last time. I've not been following the X books at all. The Krakoa thing just,
Well, this is after all that. All it's
I
over
know
now, right?
exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. After the House of X, Powers of X, I thought was great. I hopped on with New Mutants with Jonathan Hickman. Then they bait and switched me and threw somebody else on there and I gave up. But this is after that. This is X Factor, which is the cover looks like a Uncle Sam Wants You. X Factor is a government run mutant group that they're trying to like use social media to say everybody loves you. They're trying to use social media to increase their likability. Um and they get a bunch of, I mean, other than I think Angel, I didn't even know half of these characters that were in this book. And let me tell you, good reason, because at the end of their first mission, we get a new group. And there's a
So it's
reason
like
for
it's
that.
Deadpool's X Factor. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So, and it's not because they got replaced. The best part is, I think one member stays standing at the end. And when they introduce the new group, all the new groups all like, yeah, and they're posing for a picture. And the guy who lives is sort of like going, with the peace sign, but like, it doesn't really feel good about it. Um, this is fun. And it is, Mark Russell. I don't know if you got the chance to read he's been doing some really good stuff. Like he did the Red Tornado mini, which is
No,
really
I
good.
missed that. Yeah.
He does stuff that's sort of like a deconstruction and like a behind the scenes on like comics and like, um, it actually at one point in this comic book, they're like, just focus on if people don't like the characters, just have them focus on the plot, and it's like, oh, see, it's like, I think he's trying to say something about all the X titles, basically. Like, you know what? You can't tell who half these people are because there's 7 million mutants now. And it's okay. Just focus on the plot. We'll just interchange characters. But I think this is going to be pretty heady. And, I'm interested to see where it goes. So I'll keep doing this. And it does have a QR code that is pretty integral to the story of the book. There you go. Disappointed. Oh well.
All right. Up for me, I'm gonna go with She-Hulk number 10. Um, this is the end of this She-Hulk run.
Didn't know.
Um,
Did you
and
know?
yeah, I knew this one was coming as the end. And honestly, dude, by the cover, it's like, oh yeah, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, I knew when I got it, but I mean, it's like before that, I was like, oh, but then again, I don't have to write off one off of my pull list.
Now,
Like you say, it's great when they go off organically.
but this was technically just a continuation of the previous She-Hulk story.
Exactly.
They just stopped it and started numbering again.
Right.
And so this might be something else, but just this was a book of her struggling to, be part of the Avengers and have her life and have her friends and all those things. Some awkward Avengers moments. Uh, this felt like a really solid conclusion to her story that we've been on for the last. I want to say the
3 years?
previous. Yeah, I want to say the previous one went for 16 issues, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but whatever it is, I've picked up every She-Hulk book since before She-Hulk was a TV show. So it's been a minute, but sounds like a good conclusion to the story. But getting some awkwardness with Thor. Uh,
Yes. That was well, and the whole thing with the Jack of Hearts, who basically killed all the Avengers
yeah,
after he was zombified by Scarlet Witch, and you meeting all these people. That was yeah.
yeah, it was just nice. I enjoyed it. I hope that they'll use her character well in the future, regardless. Because that's one of the things that I've struggled with is like Marvel will have a writer do justice really well by a character, and
Yeah.
then once the book stops, the character is just like left to the wolves. Gail Simone wrote a fantastic arc for Domino.
Oh, now you don't even hear from Domino.
Right, Domino
Was
went
she in the
into
Marauders? What's
no,
she in?
she was in some like maybe X Force. Um, but she ended up Krakoa or something in that process, and
Nice.
um, like just got lost in the mix up of mutants. So, man,
I got you. I hate it when that happens. I listen. Give them to Tom King. He'll take one of them and just do something crazy with them. Oh
they'll give
gosh.
some random character a 42 issue arc that no one ever asked for.
Yeah, but you'll still go. Well, that was okay then.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
Well, I have a little bit of She-Hulk sort of news. And this goes with my next poll, which is the Ultimates issue 3. This is slowly becoming one of my favorites that I get. Um, so the build up for the Ultimates basically is, we've had this where the maker created a world where there were no superheroes, and it's ruled by these villains. And Tony Stark somehow has captured the maker, and he is like put away in jail. We know he's not going to get out for like so many months, and it's Tony and the rest of trying to go back and recreate these superheroes. So like that's how Spider-Man started. He was given the
Right.
spider because he didn't happen. So the Avengers, the Ultimates basically, um are trying to gather all their people. And last issue, they just rescued America Chavez from being held captive in the basement of the White House. And now they're going to a island in the South Pacific where the gamma testing was done, which is basically where Banner, who the Hulk is one of the villains, basically working for the maker. And they go to this island, sort of like, like Kong Skull Island type thing, where the animals have gotten crazy and all this stuff. But not only that, the inhabitants who lived there have been affected by the gamma radiation. And you meet I don't know if we could call her She-Hulk. She's not Jennifer Walters, but she is a huge hulking woman who's green. And it is her having an conversation with Sif, Thor, and Tony Stark's son, I believe is who that is. And they want them to help them fight Banner, because Banner's the most evil creature there is around or whatever. And she's like, we just want to live our lives. And then you see all these people who've been, you can just imagine people who were affected by radiation, by a nuclear fallout or whatever. And that's what's living there. Some of them have mutated to have like powers or whatever. And some of them just are like um, a nervous system with legs that feels every bit of wind that hits them and everything. So it's very tragic, honestly. And I just the thought and emotion that goes into this book has been really good. I'm looking forward to next issue because I don't apparently it's going to have a little bit of play into the whole Doom thing, because Doom is also one of the Ultimates. He's a good guy currently, And I think next issue he experiments trying to create the Fantastic Four, and the cover for Ultimates 4 is awesome. It's the Doom mask with four mice around it, and they all look like members of the Fantastic Four because he's experimenting. But anyway, Ultimates, great book. It's well worth it. Lot, very poignant. Environmental issues, the whole deal. I like it. So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna go off of Bag and Board comics and jump over to manga for My Hero Academia Volume 37,
Okay.
which is not the most recent one, but it is the next most recent one. They are going to end all the books with Volume 40.
So Hector, answer me this.
Yes,
So a volume has multiple chapters, correct?
yes.
So it's a big boy.
It's. Do I have one here? I normally have one like around my desk or
So
something.
help because I don't know how many people listen to the podcast that are manga folks, but I mean people like me don't quite understand it.
Okay, I
Um,
got you. Hold on. I'm explaining real fast.
well, my
Um,
son loves JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
yeah.
So thanks to an unknown Reddit user, I have been able to start reading all the JoJo books. And I just finished volume 1, which was called Phantom Blood, and it had like 80 million. I mean, it was gargantuan, the
Okay,
amount that I had to read.
that's not a normal volume.
Okay. All right.
Normal volume roughly is the size of a paperback.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Um, and it might have
So,
3 to 4 chapters.
gotcha. Okay.
It's effectively a trade. Do
Uh,
you know how?
I've seen them. I've seen them at the bookstore. I know what you're
Okay,
talking about then.
yeah, that's a volume.
Gotcha.
Do you know how these stories are released in general?
I just know you got to read them from back to front, right to
Okay,
left.
so in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
there is a magazine called Shonen Jump.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that.
Okay, it's basically a weekly newspaper for manga.
Oh, cool.
So each week, One Piece, Dragon Ball Super, My Hero Academia, Chainsaw Man, One Punch Man
Gotcha.
will each have a chapter in this magazine
Wow. Why are we not getting this magazine?
because we're not Japan.
Well, we could get it mailed here. Use
Because
Google Translate.
not that many people are reading all of it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what they do is they wait until 6 weeks or
Okay.
a couple months of those weeklies,
And then put out a trade.
put out a trade. That's
Okay.
one
Coolio.
volume.
All right.
So because just last week, the last entry into My Hero Academia came out in that form.
Okay.
The story ended last week. We will get it in manga form
In a
in
month, 2 months.
February.
Okay. Gotcha. So
Um,
the volume you have right now is what volume again?
Volume 38 is the current newest one. Volume 39 comes out in, I want to say, September. Then the
Okay.
final volume will come out in February.
Okay. Awesome.
And
All right.
this one was just solid entry of just some really good battles. They're in the short rows, as they would say, of the story. Like they're down to the final battle.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like the last 5 volumes are going to be just covering the final battle.
All right.
And
That's
but
going to
there,
be a lot.
yeah, it is visually a lot, and because if you're reading this in black and white text, it can honestly be a bit overwhelming to have nothing but nonstop battle. And I'm at the point where I normally would rather read the manga than watch the anime, just for time's sake. Um, I'd because the anime is usually so far behind.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
understand. Yeah, because
it's
they have to
it,
animate it.
but it's not now because they are animating the anime before the manga's coming out in a lot of cases because they know that the story's ending and they want it to kind of coincide.
Mm-hmm.
So there he's telling them what they're writing before it actually comes out in book form. So they can get started. But yeah, you had a really solid moment with the we're at the point in the story where did you watch My Hero or read My Hero at all?
Yes, I've seen like the first maybe two seasons. First
Okay.
season, two seasons.
Um, the main bad guy who's got the hands that are like on his face and
Yes.
stuff like that. Okay.
I know. Yes.
All right. So at the end of the story, where we're at is that All for One, the long big bad of the story, has put himself into that guy's body.
Okay.
And he's taking over that guy's body and putting all the quirks of all the people inside that young kid's body.
Hmm.
Deku has leveled up way above and beyond what you've seen and where you're at. Like
Mhm.
he's got 12 different powers.
Okay.
And all the dead versions of the people who owned the power before him are guiding him as spirit guides
Okay.
through all of it. They're like press X now. Like it's kind of like that level.
Yeah. Nice.
And so he's got his dead mentors like floating around him telling him what to do. Um and so they're at the point where you got to kill the bad guy to save the world, and he's like, I think I can save that kid.
Oh.
Like even though like this dude's literally destroying the world,
Mm-hmm.
like the whole earth's gonna die. But he's
They're
like,
still good in him.
he's like, I think I can save that kid. Yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
They also, and because I don't know where the anime is, I'm not gonna say anything with this. One of the main characters dies.
Okay.
And you get another main character trying to revive that character, and it's hearty scenes, good stuff. I
Okay.
read volume 37 and 38 this week. 37 was better. Just because 38 was a lot of it's too much visually,
Yeah.
um,
I got
and
it.
more visuals than heart, I'd say. So, what
Okay.
about you? What you got left?
My last one is probably this is great because I did not put this on my pull list and it was put in by mistake. That's that should be a question we ask. What's the best book you ever got put in by mistake? I went home, I got home and I was like, oh, somebody
Hey,
probably wanted this book and they didn't get it.
run back your
Uh,
list through me for me one more time.
so far,
Yeah.
Ultimates issue 3, X Factor 1, Action Comics 1068, and Gotham City Sirens 1 and 2.
Action 1068.
Mm-hmm.
So Gotham City Sirens, Ultimates 3, Action 1068, and
X Factor 1.
X Factor number 1. Okay.
This is another number 1. It's by Image.
Okay.
Um, it is written by Kieran Gillen, and drawn by Casper Wingard, who did
Like Karen Gillan, like
no, Kieran,
Kieran Gillan. Oh,
not Karen, not Doctor Who, Kieran. Yeah,
okay.
and Casper Wingard, the guy who did the art for Homesick Pilots. Homesick, yeah. This is called The Power Fantasy. And I loved Casper Wingard's art in Homesick Pilots. This is like leveled up. It still has his style, but it is so much good. It is so pretty, amazing. This is, I didn't know what I was getting. I got it by mistake. I'm so glad. It's probably my favorite book. This book starts out in the 60s with two people having a conversation about the destiny basically of the world. If people with superpowers had superpowers, what would happen? You come to find out that they are both two of the most powerful beings in the world currently. One guy has like is extremely intelligent and has like some psychic ability, and he basically tells this other woman that what's right for the world would be to kill so many people to save the planet. And he goes, and she's like, I can't let you do that. And he goes, of course you can't. I shouldn't do that. That shouldn't be what we do. But we have to. I just want you to know that's what I think. And we have to be prepared because there will be other people. And what are we going to do? Because when these other people have superpowers and they act how they act. So it's basically, we then jump forward to present day, and there are like, they call them atomics, I think, because as we just heard, you can't call people superheroes. they're not heroes anyway. They're super powered beings, which is the whole term, the power fantasy. It's a play on terms for superpowers. Um, one person wants to flex their muscle on a on a world stage and does something that he probably shouldn't do. And then one of the world's superpowers retaliates. And then he wants to retaliate by like wiping out an entire city. And one of the guy that we met at the beginning is like, oh, wait, he's having a conversation with somebody else. He's like, wait a minute, I have to take care of something. And then he intercedes and is like, you can't do this. You shouldn't have done this to begin with. You can't retaliate like this. And he goes, well, something has to be done. And he's like, well, what needs to be done? What do you want to happen? He goes, I want this to happen. And he's like, that can't happen. Well, I want this to happen. Okay, I'll let that happen. And I want this and this and this. And he's like, okay. And then I want this. And he's like, can't do that. This. And okay. It is very much like the superpowers that we have in our world today, what they do when one does something the other one doesn't like and how they react and the give and take between those. But now we're talking about superpowered individuals, that they are the nuclear arsenal. These superpowered beings are the nuclear arsenal. What happens when one goes off? How do the other ones react? So it's going to be a really geopolitical type book, I think, but all framed within a super hero, super villain. I wouldn't even call it that. They're super powered people in their world, in that world. So I was amazed. I immediately texted my local comic book shop, which by the way, I have information about that. And I said, put it on my pools, and they did. Great,
Awesome,
great
man.
book. Yeah.
What's up with your comic shop?
So this is sucky news for me, but great for other people. My comic book shop, I have to work every other Saturday. This Saturday I had to work. On Friday night, they put out a Facebook post saying at 10 in the morning, they don't even open until 11. At 10 till noon, Jim Lee will be at our store. And we're like, what? They're like, so if you'd like to come and meet Jim Lee, come. So people started lining up at 3 in the morning to see Jim Lee. Jim Lee stayed there from 10 till he was supposed to leave at noon until 1:30, signed and talked to everybody for free. Anything they brought, he signed it. At my little local comic book shop in Lexington, Kentucky. So I went to pick up my comics on Wednesday and I was like, Beth, how did this happen? She goes, you'll never believe it. Friday night, we're getting ready to close. We get a phone call and this guy says, hey, I'm Jim Lee. And we're like, yeah, right. They're like, oh, I'm Jim Lee. I'm going to be in town tomorrow. My daughter has something she has to do at the horse park, there's Kentucky Horse Park. I live in Kentucky. And I will have between 10 and 12 free tomorrow. And I'd like just to come to your store and meet your patrons. I checked you all out. You have great reviews. It seems I did some research. Seems like your customers love you guys, and your comic book shop's the closest one to my hotel. So I'd like to come just out of the flipping blue.
Bro, I would poop monkeys. Goodness
Can you
gracious.
believe that?
I would have shut my pharmacy down, Todd.
I know I should have, but so it was cool because Beth said, yeah. And he said, well, I need to go. It's 1:20. And he goes, let me call my Uber. And the owner, Steve is like, oh, I can take you because it's like 5 miles away. It's where he had to go. So on the road there, he took, it was an Action Comics, one of the clear covers, the white covers. You know how they do that? They'll do a blank cover. DC does this sometimes. They'll put out a variant cover where it's just the title in black and the whole page is empty. And on the drive there, he drew a picture of the Joker's face and put, thank you guys so much for a great time. Love to Stephen and Beth, love Jim Lee. And it's gorgeous, gorgeous. I was like, so listen, kudos to Jim Lee. I've never met the guy ever in my entire life. I don't know if any people have, but that's just class act right there. He didn't take any money for it. He just showed up and did everything he signed everything for free. Nothing. Didn't charge anything.
He's at Comic-Con this weekend.
Is he?
I want to say upcoming, maybe. Or maybe he was just at one. He was at a show recently that I couldn't go to, but I've heard great things.
Well, there it is.
Well,
Yeah.
my last comic's not as cool as that.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just
No, that's a better story. I'd rather hear
in your
that.
Cheerios, but yeah, go ahead.
Uncanny X-Men #1 because
It's a great comic. There you
it's
go.
a great comic.
And here you go. Jim Lee's first work at Marvel was on Uncanny X-Men.
Yep.
There you go.
I've got
I had that
poster
book
outside.
I would have taken it and had him sign it if I didn't have to work on Saturday. Anyway.
It would have been Hush for me. I would have got him to do Hush.
Oh, yeah. That'd have been a good one, too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very rare that he does the whole art book, like not just the cover. But this was a great X-Men book. It's Rogue, Gambit, and Wolverine when they don't know what to do with themselves after the X-Men is over. Rogue is especially struggling. They go effectively, and they even make a joke about it being a Make-A-Wish kid. The thing.
But that's sweet, though.
That is sweet. And they go visit a kid in the hospital who's sick, and spoiler, the kid passes unexpectedly, and Rogue is just ripped to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's half of it's just them trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. Nightcrawler was handled respectfully and done well. And it's solid. If this is now, when they announced these X books were coming, Gail Simone was my first check mark. Yes, I'll get this book. Nightcrawler, Rogue, Gambit, and Wolverine as the primaries in the book. Yes, absolutely. I mean, give me all the good X-Men.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I mean, there's X-Men that would also be great, but these are the ones I would buy action figures of.
Absolutely. I actually have an action figure of Wolverine. I don't know. I don't have anybody else. And I've got some really cool Fleer cards of Rogue.
I've never bought. I don't know that I own a Rogue action figure. I've got a Wolverine and I've got 5 Nightcrawlers.
Yeah, this is the X-Men book that I like the most. This feels like X-Men.
Yeah, and I didn't buy any of the other ones because this was, I only wanted this one. And I've already bought way too many X-Men books I didn't want.
That's right.
So
Me too. Me too. All right. Well,
folks, episode 104 is officially in your eyes, in your ears, and thanks for being a part of it and for joining with Todd and I in the process. You can find this if you're listening to this in audio formats. You can check the visual out on our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/@thepulllist.ltn.
That's a lot.
It is a lot,
but I found it easily.
Yeah, you'll find it. It's not too hard to find. We are also part of the Glue Network, the GLU network that you can find on your Roku channel. And there's also, did you know there are 11 other LTN podcasts? 11. There are a dirty dozen of LTN podcasts.
And if I'm not mistaken, Hector just had one come out where he interviews Radio Matt.
I did have one.
The bomb diggity.
He is the bomb diggity. And I just, there's a lot of other podcasts out there for you to check out. And you should give them a listen. Go and subscribe, and follow all the other LTN podcast pages. And that's about it for us. So thank you for letting us be your bi-weekly source for comics and information. And we appreciate you for being along the journey. And remember, kids, read more comics.
I'm gonna take all 7 continents, the game of